My girlfriend stole my credit card and maxed it out on her luxury shopping spree. I reported it, and now she's begging for forgiveness. I'm 28, male. It all began with what looked like an everyday relationship. My girlfriend had seemed sweet, supportive, and down-to-earth when we first met at a mutual friend's birthday party. Little did I know her down-to-earth facade masked something far more dangerous. Our first few months together were fairly normal. Cute dates, daily texts, the usual pace of a budding romance. We'd talk about ambitions. I told her how I was saving to buy a modest home. She'd nod enthusiastically, mentioning that she dreamed of living in a posh neighborhood one day. Occasionally, she'd drop hints about luxury brands or exotic travel destinations, but I assumed it was just idle talk. I had no reason to suspect otherwise, so I let those remarks pass. Soon, we started planning weekends together. She'd suggest going to upscale malls, just for window shopping, or dropping by fancy boutiques she'd seen on social media. I always thought it was harmless fun, until I noticed a pattern. She rarely bought anything, but she'd spend hours ogling designer shoes, bags, and jewelry. Occasionally, she'd throw me a wistful look, as if hinting that she wished she could afford them. At first, I felt a little sorry for her. I chalked it up to her wanting a more glamorous life than her current job provided. A subtle shift occurred around the 3-month mark. She began asking more pointed questions about my finances. How much do you make in a year? Is your savings account big enough for emergencies? Don't you think investing in a lavish lifestyle early can be motivating? I found it odd but tried to stay transparent. After all, we were in a relationship. Yet something about her tone made me uneasy, like she was gauging how much she could nudge me into her dream of luxury. The real trouble started one evening when we were heading to a friend engagement party. She insisted we stop by a high-end boutique, claiming she needed to browse for a gift. After drifting through rows of designer items, she acted surprised when her debit card was declined at checkout for a fancy scarf she impulsively decided to buy. She pouted, asking if I could spot her until payday. It wasn't cheap, but I didn't want to cause a scene, so I paid. She fawned over me, calling me a lifesaver, but something about her relieved grin felt contrived. In the weeks that followed, she tried similar small-time stunts, forgetting her wallet at restaurants, pressuring me to cover her portion, promising she'd pay back soon. Each time, she gave me puppy dog eyes, insisting it was just a minor mishap. I'd sigh inwardly, but comply. I guess I didn't mind too much at first. I was comfortable financially, and she was my girlfriend. But these minor incidents laid the groundwork for a far bigger betrayal that would blindside me. One Saturday, I returned from a double shift at the warehouse exhausted. My girlfriend had invited me to her place for a home-cooked dinner. I want to spoil you a bit, she'd said. I arrived half-dead from work, but eager to enjoy a quiet meal. The apartment smelled of roasted chicken, and she seemed in an unusually good mood. We chatted about mundane stuff, planning a small trip upstate. Everything felt normal until she casually mentioned, "Hey, if you ever need me to hold on to your spare credit card while you're at work, I could run errands for you." Just a thought. I paused, thrown off by the suggestion. "Thanks, but I think I'm fine," I replied, uncertain why she'd even proposed that. She shrugged, changing the subject quickly. In hindsight, that was an alarming hint that she was eyeing my credit resources. But I let it pass. I was too drained from the day to analyze it further. A week later, a storm front moved in, both literally and figuratively. The night of the big meltdown, I'd gone out with some friends for a sports event. I texted her, asking if she wanted to join, but she said she had errands to run. The next morning, I checked my phone and saw multiple missed calls from the bank's fraud department. My chest tightened. I never missed so many calls from them before. I dialed back, heart thumping. A bank representative explained they'd seen suspicious activity on my credit card, high-value purchases in a short period at various luxury stores. They asked if I'd authorized them. My stomach dropped. I quickly said, "No, absolutely not." The representative advised me to freeze the card and file a report. "We'll investigate, but you might also consider reporting this to local authorities," she said calmly. I hung up dazed. In total, thousands of dollars had been charged, maxing out the card's limit. It included items like a designer purse, expensive watch, and some high-end clothing. My mind raced. Who could have stolen my card? I rummaged through my wallet, and sure enough, the card was gone. Memories flooded back, my girlfriend's odd suggestion about holding on to a spare credit card. My pulse spiked. Could it really be her? Desperate for answers, I called her. She didn't pick up. Over the next hour, I tried texting, emailing, anything to get a response. Nothing. Meanwhile, my phone lit up with more automated alerts about the maxed out card. Fear mingled with anger. If she was behind this, what did it mean for our relationship? Had she played me all along? Finally, she texted, "Busy. We'll call you later." Furious, I jumped in my car and drove straight to her apartment. I found her inside, rifling through shopping bags bearing the same luxury brand names I'd seen in the bank's email notifications. She froze when she saw me. A flush of guilt spread across her face. For a moment, the air was thick with silent tension. "Where'd you get the money?" I asked quietly, though anger pulsed just beneath the surface. She stammered nonsense about a lucky spree, how she found a great deal. I demanded the truth, holding up my phone to show the transaction list. She realized there was no escape and admitted she'd borrowed my credit card from my wallet while I was out. "I plan to pay it back eventually," she insisted, tears welling. "I knew you had a decent limit, and I thought I just wanted to feel special, to have nice things." My hands shook. In one breath, she validated my worst fear. She'd exploited my trust, stole my financial resources for her personal indulgences. My mind was reeling with a barrage of emotions: betrayal, disbelief, and a fierce resolve that I wouldn't be swept under the rug. Her attempts to justify her actions were almost laughable. She claimed it was a temporary splurge, that I shouldn't overreact. "I love you," she insisted, stepping closer, trying to place a hand on my arm. But the sight of those extravagant shopping bags behind her spoke volumes about her priorities. She'd lied to me, stolen from me, and now expected me to nod and say everything would be fine. I felt the tension coiling like a spring in my chest. "I've already reported the charges as fraudulent," I said, my voice shaking with anger. Instantly, her eyes widened in panic. She started spewing excuses, calling me petty for involving the bank. She accused me of ruining her life. I snapped back that she brought this on herself. The moment she decided to use my card without permission, she crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. She tried to salvage control by throwing me emotional barbs. "Clearly, you care more about money than me," she spat, tears streaming. It was almost comical how fast she flipped the blame. I retorted, "You stole my card. You maxed it out. Who's the one who doesn't care about trust here?" She slumped against the kitchen counter, sobbing, as though she was the victim of some cosmic unfairness. In the next breath, she begged me not to press further charges, promising she'd return everything. She flung herself at me in desperation. "Please don't do this. I'll fix it. I'll get a second job, pay off the debt. Just don't push this any further." But the damage was done. I told her plainly, "The bank is already investigating. This is out of my hands." Her face lost all color. That night, I packed up any of my belongings left at her place and left. My phone buzzed relentlessly with messages from her, cycling between apologies, accusations, and self-pity. I forwarded the case details to local authorities, following the advice of the bank's fraud department. They told me that if I was sure I wanted to proceed, they'd open a file. Torn between empathy and rightful anger, I decided to press on. She'd committed a serious crime, and my kindness had been abused. In the following days, she blew up social media with posts painting me as an unforgiving monster. She used half-truths, implying I'd overreacted to a small misunderstanding. However, once mutual friends saw the evidence of the stolen card statements and the receipts, their sympathy for her faded. Some confronted her, calling out the blatant theft. She went silent online, then pivoted to direct pleas. "Can we meet? Let's fix this." I ignored most of them, focusing on the legal angle. I also changed my locks, just in case she still had any keys or thought to break in. People might call that paranoid, but after seeing how entitled she was to my property, I wouldn't risk it. My trust in her was shattered. Meanwhile, the bank reversed the fraudulent charges, though they made it clear that further legal action might be needed if she didn't comply with repayment. The sums were so large, it wasn't just a minor slip. It was a full-blown financial assault on me. About a week later, she showed up unannounced at my doorstep, puffy-eyed, clinging to a stack of shopping bags. Inside them were the items she'd bought with my card: unworn designer heels, purses, and expensive clothes still bearing price tags. "I'll return everything," she said, voice trembling. "Just don't press charges. Please." I stared at the bags, the the stark evidence of her spree. I don't know if that's enough, I said. You can't just undo this with a refund. She broke down, sobbing that her future was at stake, that a criminal record would ruin her. Part of me felt a pang of pity, but I remembered how she'd used me, her sense of entitlement, her manipulative pleas the moment she was cornered. I wouldn't budge. The bank and the authorities have the final say. It's not up to me alone, I said. You violated my trust. There are consequences. She sank to the doorstep, wailing about how she never meant to hurt me, that she got carried away in the moment. I gave a hollow laugh. Carried away? You had time to think while swiping my card in store after store. Her face twisted with remorse. Still, I refused to let my anger overshadow the reality. She needed to answer for her actions, plain and simple. In the weeks that followed, a detective contacted me, confirming she had returned some items. They also mentioned she was cooperating in hopes of a reduced punishment. My lawyer friend suggested that if she made full restitution, the courts might be lenient. Whether or not that was enough to dismiss the case was uncertain. I stayed out of it, letting the legal process run its course. I felt no desire to ensure she rotted in jail, but I also refused to intervene on her behalf. She was an adult who made conscious choices, and for once, I recognized the importance of letting an entitled person face real consequences. Through mutual contacts, I learned she was living with a relative struggling financially since losing her job. She'd apparently lost it because rumors of her theft circulated, and her employer discovered discrepancies in her record. The betrayal had boomeranged back to her, full force. Part of me was sad to see a life unravel, but also I knew I had to maintain my stance. I changed my number, blocked her on social media, and tried to focus on healing. Then, one evening, I received a handwritten letter slipped under my door. It was from her, a final appeal describing how sorry she was, how she realized she'd taken advantage of my kindness, how desperation and greed had blinded her. She begged for forgiveness, asked me to drop any remaining charges, to give her one more chance. I stared at the letter for a long time. Memories flooded in, our early dates, her laughter, the subtle signs I'd ignored. In the end, I tucked the letter away and decided not to respond. Some lines, once crossed, can't be easily erased. She'd made her bed, now she had to lie in it. Ultimately, the partial resolution arrived. She managed to pay back a portion of the money, returned the rest in goods, and entered some kind of deferred agreement with the court. The official criminal charges might be expunged after a probation period, provided she stays out of trouble and continues restitution. That's her path now, not mine. I have no regrets about reporting the theft. If I'd brushed it off, who knows what else she might have done, either to me or someone else. I'm moving on with a renewed sense of caution and a much stricter approach to personal boundaries.